I have worked as a English to Hindi translator too. So what happened is I thought okay, let it let's do it. When I started doing that was an advertisement for jewelry brand. That was one page article. I thought English and Hindi. I am using it every day. But when I started translating it, I found that come on, this is not sounding correct. Two languages, but when you write it down, like when you write something, you have to make sure what you have written is like 100% correct. Like you give your 100%, like what is the perfect word for that. So doing a written translation requires that kind of detail.
As you have worked as a translator, interpreter, educator, now how does
Mhm.
each role, differ in skill, requirements, and challenges?
Yeah. So translator is there are two types of translation. Like one you do it written one, and one another is oral. Like mostly I worked like that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be very detail oriented, like the accuracy of translation. You
Yeah.
go after that. What is the correct word? Like even I have worked not just Chinese English translation. I have worked as a English to Hindi translator too. So what happened is I thought okay, let it let's do it. When I started doing that was an advertisement for jewelry brand. That was one page article. I thought English and Hindi. I am using it every day. But when I started translating it, I found that, come on, this is not sounding correct. Two languages, but when you write it down, like when you
Mm.
write something, you have to make sure what you have written is like 100% correct. Like you give your 100%, like what is the perfect word for that. So
Mm.
doing a written translation requires that kind of detail. You have to that the meaning is conveyed completely. This is the right word in
Mm-hmm.
that language. Like you have to understand thing in the language, and then you have to understand, you have to say it in a different way in the target language, and without losing any the meaning. So I spend a lot of time proofreading my translation, and that one of the major thing, because I have never done English Hindi translation before at a professional level. So first time when I did it, I written one advertisement. I spent a lot of time on that, because in advertisement there are something which should be in that image, and it what is the perfect how to cover it up. It doesn't sound awkward.
Mm.
Sometimes you may have seen some advertisement on gaming apps or something. People are doing it, and but it sounds very weird, like a press like Hindi translation is simple. So you have to make sure people don't find it weird.
Mm.
And the other thing is oral translation, the interpretation. In that, you have to you have to one thing which is more important is you have to be very fast. You have to look into the client, you have to fast, and you have to be like live processing. That is I have done consecutive translation most of the time. And one of the biggest one was with a group of 10 Chinese investors who were in India, and they bring two, like we were three translators, so we were working together, listening, taking notes and everything, and then getting all the information collected, taking the note, because you cannot do it one word by one. You collect
Mm-hmm.
all the information, you make sure that nothing is missed, like details are not missed. You have to pay attention, like what is the amount in business meeting, what is
Yeah.
the quantity, and how they will do it. You have to pay, like you have to be a really good understanding of, this is my approach to do interpretation. So I take notes so that doing the interpretation in the target language, I'm not missing out those details, those vital information. I do not pay attention to the grammar, because that is not important, but I pay maximum, like 100% accuracy on the meaning is not lost, the amount is not
Mm.
lost, this is how it is. And that's something. So you have to be very fast, and you should be be prepared when you have big meetings. Having two three interpreter is better, because the other interpreter was from China. I'm from Indian side, so they hired one Indian, one Chinese, so that both can work together, and they can
Mm-hmm.
deliver the best result. So that was very
Yes.
important. And educator, like the third thing which I have worked as it's like I have taught Hindi also, and English and Chinese, like
Mm.
different. My students are Chinese students, Indian students, and uh, I also had a French student, not a student, but more of like a friend. She was my classmate, and she was doing some thesis paper writing work on Hindi. So I was helping her with that. As educator, I often have exchanges during my learning period. I was doing like that, but later on when I started teaching professionally, when I was getting paid for it, not like you are helping your friend do something, they are helping you
Yeah.
out, not like that. So what I do, as educator, because I was never a full-time educator. So one thing is, like, of course, you have to follow a curriculum, like a book, published book. This is what I follow in case of Hindi, or like I do research which book is perfect for their
Yeah.
need. First, I had to talk with my students, like what level they want to go. So once I have that, I recommend the book. I do the research, and then I prepare the class before to teach for 1 hour. If I have not taught English or to that 10-year-old kid, my most difficult student was 10-year-old Chinese kid, and he was very naughty. And I faced a lot of challenges to teach him. One reason was also because, like, in India, we when we start learning something, the motivational factor is this thing will lead you to this much job. You do BTech,
Yes.
you go to IIT, you get 1 CR job, you
Yeah.
learn English, you do that. The thing was, the father of that kid was too rich. They can buy everything. They can afford one interpreter for all life. Like me, an interpreter can be there. So I was having a difficult time to motivate that 1 year, like 10-year-old kid, learn English. Like, how I can motivate. He was a very bright student. He knew Chinese culture and history. He used to read a lot of book. So gradually I started, like, I observed, because I was going to his home to teach. So I was also giving inputs how to teach that kid, because you cannot elders you can teach very well, like they understand, but the kids, they get bored after 1 hour, they don't want to sit.
Yeah.
So I was, apart from teaching, like, I was preparing lessons, like what I'm going to talk about today, keeping in mind what he's interested about. So most of the time, I, based on the requirement of my students, like whether they are like professionals or they're kids, I prepare lessons. And maybe I'm spending, if I'm teaching you 1 hour, I'm spending 2 hours thinking about what materials I have to
Yes.
give it to that person. So it's
Correct.
just not 1 hour I'm going to deliver it, but I'm also
Mm.
preparing. So I was choosing some comic books and something which he like. I go to the store, I find books. Whenever I there, I get those books. And of course, I their parents are paying me for the books and every material which I'm spending, but still it
Yeah.
was my job to identify what their kid is interested about. So that is one of the challenge. And I also suggested, since I came back to India, I told them that do not stop yourself from creating an environment. If you want your kid to be fluent in English, you create things around him. You buy books, you buy magazines, because my English, what I understand, how I started learning, when I was at my home, my parents used to get two newspapers, one in Hindi, one in English. And everyone was in the morning looking into the newspaper. So I also got this habit of reading newspapers every day. So in beginning, I was just looking at the photos. Then I started looking for the news. So if the kids have things in that language, you create an environment, is the best. If
Yes.
to learn that target language, that goes for the Korean language. Like some people, they're watching Korean TV series and they are not needing anything. They have the environment and they're getting things adapted. Of
Very
course,
true.
that's not the best way, because it takes 2 3 years and you may not reach the highest level.
Yeah.
But that is helpful with the teacher and the environment. Both things are important.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. Now, can you share an experience where your Chinese language skills had a major impact on a specific project or maybe?
Yes, like I will give an example about my previous, like there have been most of the time when I'm working with the companies, it's because of my language skills on different projects. They want, uh, I'll just give you like in a broader way, and then I'll
Yeah.
give you the example. The thing is, when you have a company like in two different cultures, in India
Mm.
and China, a lot of things they do not realize the customs and everything. So they
Yeah.
want basically what I do in these companies. Like it may be a fintech company, it may be a manufacturer, it may be some global company, IT company like Amazon. But when they have a language expert, they have someone not just as a person to translate language, but a person who understands these small things between India and China. Like I work mostly between them. So my knowledge about the society here, how people work here, what is the time, what they are expecting. These things help achieve the target smoother. Like
Mm.
people may spend 2 3 hours, like one of my colleague was telling me. I was working for the fintech, but there was another guy from edtech. This Chinese company had a lot of apps. So he said, do you have a minute today? I want you to have come and help us with the interpretation. I was not in their department, but whenever there's an opportunity, I go. So I went to them, and the meeting was over in half an hour. Everything was clear. He said, like, if you were not there, uh, then it may take 2 3 hours, and maybe still we don't know what exactly we have to do. So to
Mm.
work as a team, you have to have a coordinator. When you have a multilingual team based in different multicultural team, and you have a coordinator, I call it like a catalyst, a reaction. Like if you learn chemistry, there are two things. They are reacting, but you put a catalyst, it starts reacting faster.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is what I do in a company which is like trying to do business in India or in China. Like I'm currently learning Russian and everything. Maybe I will have expertise on Russian work culture later on too. But right now, I find myself expert on Indian and Chinese corporate
Mm.
world. So my previous one is like I'll tell you like one thing which was like very much appreciated by my colleagues. There was one renewal of our agreement with one of the vendor, and that was a legal document. So the
Okay.
thing is, most of the translator, that's the legal documents are very big, and legal translation you need a different kind of words, right? So that agreement was supposed to be renewed, and it was being chased. The person who worked before me was not able to do it because see that person was like little scared, like not really used to the legal terminology. So and legal things are very legal and finance related things in any company is very sensitive. You cannot sign any
Definitely.
document without understanding it. So that
Mm.
was stuck for more than 8 months. That was supposed to be um, done very fast. When I joined this company as a new joinee, I was there for only 1 month, and in 1 month, I got it executed. So people from the Indian vendor side and the Chinese counterpart, they all appreciated me for putting efforts and not complicating things. Like my father is a lawyer, so I have been like seeing these things all my life, like these agreements and everything. Of course, that is the background which I had,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
also I had a willingness to help them the understanding what are these terms, why it is there. I explained it to the Chinese. The Chinese told me, no, we want something like that, and they asked me to convey the same to the vendor. So I told them, let's see, in their country it's like that, and they do not like that. Can you change this one? So based on that, my language skills and understanding about law a little bit, those terminology, that helped me execute that agreement very fast. And I often do these kind of things, making the projects get completed on time and even faster than it was expected. Like language barrier should not. I'm there to remove that language barrier so that the
Mm.
speed doesn't slows down. You keep on, you know, going as fast. Like you
Mm.
maintain that momentum all the time. That's what I'm doing in the corporate world.
Now we are going to move on to the next step of the podcast. That is going to be earning potential and career opportunities with the languages. Now,
So,
according to you, what practical advice would you give to language learners who want to turn Chinese proficiency into a full-time career?
okay. So, a lot of my two of my cousins, they started learning Chinese when I joined in. So I'll give you the same advice which I have provided them. So
Mm.
of course you have to master your Chinese, but apart from that, you have to remember that there are 1.3 billion people in China who speak Chinese very fluently, right? So it's not that all the Chinese, there's no unemployment, they all are having good job. It's not true, right? So just having the language fluency will not help you. You know
Yeah,
the language, but apart from that, you have to have other interpersonal skills. You need to
skills. Yeah.
be like, language will help you. How it will
Hmm.
help you? It will help you add like get the job easier. Like in
Yeah.
China, there are a lot of Chinese companies in India. Most of the people are going to work with Oppo, like mobile companies, Xiaomi, and these days, Foxconn is also producing
Yeah.
mobiles in India. So, a lot of opportunities are coming. Of course, we have like a difficult relation with China, but what I believe is like these two countries, they are very same. The language issue is there. That is why we are not able. Things are not really well between these two countries. But once later or sooner it will go away. Because why I'm saying this, because we, being an Asian country, we have like similar things, like as I told you about the resemblance in our languages.
Hmm.
So, and being neighbors also, like things are already working out between India and China. Like you may have heard the news, there are good positive signs coming up from both the governments. So more companies will come to India. Like we all know BYD is
Yeah.
trying to,
Yeah.
there are some BYD cars in India. So there are a lot of opportunities in Chinese language, especially for Indian learners also, and that is growing. So once you have language skills, that will help you, but you also have to have other skills, like you should be knowing like basic computer skills. You should be fluent in English too, because just knowing Chinese will not help you. So these two things, and apart from all from that, I tell everyone to be in a good health. You should not be like, if you have a good personal, like pay attention to your health. Chinese will of course help you, but you need to apart from learning Chinese, you also do some you should be aware about like interpersonal small skills. You should be have it. And anyone who is as a fresher, like as I remember, like in your previous broadcast, you were giving an idea how much people are offering. So when you are fresher, I think like 50,000 a month. Normally, if you know, is the starting, but not necessarily 50,000. A lot of people I know in India, they started from 70 also. That is back because I'm telling you based on my experience when I started in 2019. So something around 50, 70, you start in with the Chinese language in a Chinese company. And when you keep on adding skills based on the sector you are focusing on, maybe you want to go in HR domain, you want to be with an IT company. Some of my friends are also working with Salesforce, and they are like some one of my friend who studied Arabic is working with Apple. So you know like how Apple is, but that takes time. Like once you start from there and you work on building skills, you adding up those certificates and everything, you build up on your profile, you land really good opportunities. So for
Very
beginning,
true.
I guess even now it's very easy to like if you are good at language, only language, you get 50,000. And the thing is, if you start doing freelancing, so basically, they pay you around 3 to 5 rupees per word, like standard. This is what they pay you, and this requires your connections. Like you need to update your LinkedIn profile, or maybe you. For Chinese, it's little difficult. Why it's difficult? Because LinkedIn is not working in China. So if you have
Hmm.
some apps which is similar to LinkedIn, which is like which I use, one is called Boss. If you're understanding where these recruiters are posting it, because there's a lot of content. Chinese companies are everywhere, not just in India. Where are
Yeah.
these contents? Where are these being translations are being done? Indian movies are getting uh, you know uh, if you may have heard
Translated.
translated. Amir Khan's movie was very popular in China. Why?
Okay.
Like one movie, Dangal, and before
Yeah.
that, Three Idiots. These two movies are very popular. Like people are crazy about Amir Khan. And why I would say, like, if you look carefully, why these two movies got really popular in China, because in China also most of the people are middle class people, and the only way what we want our kids to study, go into good university, get a good job. So that's the story of Three Idiot, right? There was a guy, they become engineer, and they want. There are stories like so why they wanted to be engineer, just to get a better job and salary. That's
Hmm.
the similar thing in China. We have something called cow cow, and every day people are spending a lot of, like, I know some Chinese students, which is cow cow is mostly like after 10 plus 2, which we have, like we have JE advanced. I don't know how these days NEET, you have to get into
Yeah.
medical college. But
Hmm.
in China, they have one exam. Based on the test, you get offers from, there's one test, and on that, you get offers from different universities to be in big universities like Tsinghua or Beijing Daxue, Beijing University. There's a Fudan University, top tier universities. You need to be like really high. You have to score really good. So there's a lot of
Hmm.
pressure on those kids in high school, because China being a very populated country like India, uh, there's a lot of people who can do the job, like if you
Very
there's one
true.
vacancy, there are like 1,000 people
Yeah,
coming up.
1,000
So there's a
peoples.
tough
Yeah.
competition. So because of that, um, people relate themselves, like, okay, this is my story. I was preparing for the cow exam. I wanted to get into big university like that. So you see, the cultural thing are very
Hmm.
similar between these two countries, and that is also a reason why these movies of like Dangal movie, like a daughter, same goes for the Chinese society. People somehow they have the mindset, like in Asian's culture, that a son is like considered better. Like, this is going away. Like how the societies are evolving, they understand that when the society is getting better, women and men, they are similar. But in China, it's less likely to happen. Because why? Because there's only one child policy. So like but still they faced women all around the world. They have like what I would say is like, it's not easy for women like men to have things. So Dangal movie, when they saw that in a sport, like in a wrestling, how an Indian father, like
Hmm.
ladka ya ladki koi bhi gold to gold hota hai, whether
Yeah.
the daughter brings out the son. So that message was very clear, and that also the Chinese society, the people in there, they liked it
They
too. Like
appreciated
those
that.
who are
Yeah.
willing, like a son is something better than a boy. That message was very clear.
Hmm.
So this is the reason I say the societies are very similar. Like there are similarities, and that is why the movies are getting popular despite the language. And when these movies are there, the subtitle writing work, it pays you really good. If
Hmm.
you are translating a subtitle, that is like even higher, like not just five. You long back when I was doing it, it was like 35 uh, per minute, something like 35 or some 35 RMB per minute. That's around 350 rupees a minute. So
Wow.
you get really high paid for if you're a transcriber.
That's not bad.
You
That's
don't
really
want
good.
to. Yeah, so if you don't want to add other skills based on industry, you just want to work as a language expert, being a transcriber or whatever related to only language, you can still do it. Because AI and other apps, they're getting better, but still we need human touch to our translation. So that is
Very
also
true.
there. If you're too good in two languages, you can work like that. That also needs you like good skills to get the offers, right? To
Very true.
brand, like you should be knowing how to use LinkedIn, how to
Hmm.
reach out to people in this. So it's a mix of, you make your
So,
personality better.
according to you, Ravi, what are the most demanding sectors, with the Chinese language?
One is like, if only when you go with the language, it's like language teacher. Of course, the people are learning, most of the people are going to language teachers.
Hmm.
Or the other one is like app translation. Like there's a lot of mobile
Okay.
apps localization. Like
Mm-hmm.
apart from that, you're just not a translator, but you also is a localization expert.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what you do. Teaching is there, translation is there, and apart from that, you go to corporate companies, big companies which hire you, and then you have your own domain. Maybe someone is going in HR, someone is going in finance, someone is going into IT. So
Yeah.
when you join
Yeah.
a company at a basic level, gradually you keep on. A lot of my friends, they were like assistant managers, like they are into PR. Or one guy, when I told you, like he's in IT, and one person is working in Salesforce. So gradually you do certifications, and then you keep on going up in the ladder. Yeah. Yeah.
Great. So, I think this podcast will really help those who are willing to consider Chinese language to
Yeah.
upskill in their career
Mhm.
and grow better. And
Yeah.
maybe somebody who is maybe excited or interested in the Chinese culture, maybe want to go to China and
Yeah, you should travel.
explore
Yeah.
the country. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's.
that will be really helpful. And maybe so for somebody who is trying to do the masters and maybe higher studies from China, for
Mhm.
them it will be helpful, I'm sure. That's all for the podcast, Ravi. And
Mhm.
I'm really very happy. And even I got so many insights, from this podcast. And I'm sure people who will be watching this will be really, happy to after hearing our meaningful conversation. Right. So thank you so
Mhm.
much for your time,
Thank you.
and
Thank
thank
you
you so
for
much
me
for coming
here.
over.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much.
And have a nice day. Have a nice weekend.
Have
Bye.
a nice weekend.